Hey guys, so this short video is going to be on comparing. So basically, I'm going to focus this one on how to compare if you're completing a writing task. The writing task you get may directly ask you to compare like with like. One of the practice ones we looked at was a scenario where you're writing a blog and you're comparing a work experience placement that you really got on with and a work experience placement that you didn't get on with so well. However, you may decide to, I don't know, maybe to hammer home a point maybe, that you want to compare something with something else in some level of detail. So that's what we're going to look at today, as it may well come up. So for starters, I'm going to use the context of a couple of fictional restaurants. Well, the names are fictional, I've changed those absolutely, but the experiences are real. And we're just going to have a look at what happens here. So first off, two things to remember, and if you take nothing away from this video, when it comes to writing, you need to be comparing like with like, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. And you need to be using discourse markers, so those are the words like however, although, or similarly, to show that you're comparing. And if it's a reading question, you also need to be taking evidence from those texts you're given. So we'll stay the olive, right? Okay, so yeah, time there was fantastic. Okay, so really good food. Perfectly cooked. No long waiting times, even though it was busy. Service was friendly, very reasonably priced. So we're talking here about a restaurant that, just really good. They're just both of them perfect, really nice foods. There wasn't really long wait times. The service is perfectly friendly. It's very reasonably priced, and the decor. So how it looked, very cosy and welcoming. And then we'll go for say something a bit different here, because we're obviously going to write it. We're going to be writing a comparison between these two things. So we need some more stuff here. So I'm going to put here, food was overcooked. Waited a very long time. The place was packed. People. Service was okay. Reasonably priced. Decor was a bit faded and a bit grubby. Okay, so we've got basically two different restaurants here to compare, or rather, to put it a bit more specifically, we're comparing our experiences at these two restaurants. Now, the first rule, obviously, is if I'm writing up some sort of comparison between these two, I need to be comparing like with like. Now, I've already started to do this when I was filling in the table. I did it sort of instinctively. But you might not be that lucky in the exam. You might not necessarily be able to sort of think in these terms. I basically did that just for sort of really. So we can compare food with food, can't we? We can compare no long wait times with waited a very long time. Service, yeah, we compare that. We can compare the price as well, and the decor. However, we wouldn't necessarily compare the decor with the food being overcooked. So you wouldn't have this sort of sentence, for instance. You wouldn't have that, because you're not comparing like with like. You're comparing the decor in the olive to the food being overcooked in the Cafe Blue. That doesn't make sense. Okay? So again, we want to be comparing like with like here. And it gets a bit more complex when you're talking about opinions, and I'll be getting on to that in my next video. But in terms of what's actually happening, it is reasonably straightforward. Okay? So what we have instead here is we'll turn this essentially into a couple of comparisons. Can you see what I've done there? So now I'm comparing the decor in the olive to the decor in Cafe Blue. And another thing I want to draw your attention to are these words here, our discourse markers like however. So you could have however, or on the other hand, or unlike in Cafe Blue. You can use words or phrases, but you absolutely need to be using these words or phrases which highlight to your reader that you are making a point of comparison. If you do not do this in the exam, you will lose marks. If you're asked to compare in the exam, whether it's in the writing paper where you're comparing a couple of different things, or in the reading paper where you're comparing two different sources, you need to be explicitly comparing. They state that in the mark scheme. You need to be comparing like with like, and you need to be explicitly comparing. So don't forget as well, unless it specifies, unless the question is asking you to compare differences or similarities, which it doesn't usually do, you can also talk about similarities. Comparison isn't just about picking out differences. So we could have here the food in the olive is very reasonably priced. It came to about 30 quid for all three of us for lunch. The Cafe Blue similarly priced. So you can see there the word similarly is making that comparison. We spent just under 30. Okay, so there we go. We need to make sure we're comparing like with like, and we need to be using discourse markers to show we're comparing. If you'd like to have a little activity now, you might want to stop this video, maybe watch through it again if you like, and have a go at writing something like this yourself. Maybe compare a particularly good meal out you had with a particularly bad meal out you had, or a particularly good holiday with a particularly bad holiday. Anything you like, and email it through to me at the usual email